So you want to start a business in Japan? You have heard it's complicated, expensive, and it takes months. But what actually happens is that most foreign founders waste 2 to 3 months and overspend by 100,000 or 200,000 yen because they don't understand the real process. Some make choices during incorporation that cost them visa approval later. Others pick the wrong corporate structure and regret it within a year when they try to raise funding or hire employees. Today, we're breaking down exactly how to incorporate your business in Japan in 2026, the decision you will need to make, the actual cost, a realistic timeline, and the mistakes that will cost you time and money. So this is part 1 of a 3-part series that we're going to release. In this video, you'll learn how to choose between KK and GK, the 2 corporate structures here in Japan, and which one is right for your situation. You will also learn the 8 critical decisions you must make before you even start the incorporation process. And we'll cover what these decisions means for your taxes, your visa applications, and your future business operations. In part 2 and 3, we will cover the actual incorporation process, costs, common mistakes, and what happens after registration. But today, we're focusing on getting your foundations right because these earlier decisions are the hardest to change later. Alright, so your first major decision, Kabushiki Kaisha, KK, or Godo Kaisha, GK. This choice affects everything, your costs, your fundraising ability, your visa application, how Japanese partners perceive you. And look, this decision is hard to reverse. So if you start with GK and want to switch to KK later, you're essentially starting over and paying corporations costs again. So let us break down what each structure means. Kabushiki Kaisha is Japan's stock company structure. Think of it like a C Corp in the US or a limited company in the UK. This accounts for about 90% of new incorporations in Japan, and is by far the most common. Ownership is through shares. You can issue stocks, you can bring in investors, you can eventually go public if you want to. So why would you choose KK? Well, if you're planning to raise funding from VCs, angels, or strategic investors, then you will need KK. You cannot easily issue stocks with GK, which is the other corporate structures, which means no equity fundraising. It's also the credibility play here. Japanese banks, partners, and enterprise clients recognize KK as the standard business structure. So when you show up with a KK, you get a huge boost to your legitimacy of the business. Some business opportunities are specifically required to have KK as well. So certain government contracts, certain partnerships with major Japanese corporations, they will want to see KK. And immigration tends to scrutinize KK application a bit less because it's the established recognized structure that they know. Now the downsides. KK costs more to set up. It's true for our services and other services in general as well. To pay at least 100,000 yen more if you are doing a KK full service incorporation. It's also more complex to run. You need shareholder meetings. If you ever grow beyond a certain size, you might need a board of directors. You also need to publish annual financial statements. That's the Kessan Kokoku. And you have more administrative burden ongoing. So when do you actually need KK? So if you plan to raise VC or angel style or in the next 3 to 5 years, if you're targeting enterprise clients or government contracts, if you want maximum credibility and legitimacy, if you want to go public someday. And honestly, if you have 500,000 or more in your budget during the incorporation, we usually recommend just KK because it keeps all options open.
This is Japan's LLC structure. It was introduced in 2006, so it's newer, and it accounts for about 10% of new incorporations. That number is growing, but it's still the minority. Now, I know what you might be thinking. If it's only 10%, is it even legitimate? Well, Apple Japan operates as a GK, so does Amazon Japan, so does Google Japan. These are massive companies and they chose GK for their Japan operations. So don't think GK means small or not serious. It's a legitimate structure for the right situation. Ownership is through membership, not shares. You cannot issue traditional stock. It's managed directly by members, so there's no separation between ownership and management like there is with KK. Why would you choose GK? It's much cheaper. At SmartStart, GK incorporation is 455,000 yen compared to 545,000 yen for KK. That's 90,000 yen in savings. It's simpler to run with no shareholder meetings required, no financial statement publication requirement, direct member management, less administrative burden. You also get flexible profit distribution. With KK, profits are distributed based on share ownership, With GK, you can distribute profits however the members agree. The downsides? You cannot raise equity funding easily. No stock issuance means no VC funding, no angel investors. You're basically limited to bootstrapping, loans, or revenue. There's lower credibility perception with some Japanese partners. Not all of them. Plenty of companies understand GK is legitimate. But some traditional Japanese companies still view KK as more serious. Banks are sometimes more hesitant to open accounts for GKs. Not all banks, but we have seen this pattern. And if you plan to apply for a business manager visa, immigration may scrutinize GK applications more closely. They accept both KK and GK, but in our experience, KK applications tend to go smoother. Converting GK to KK later is expensive too. You're essentially incorporating a new company, so if you save 90,000 yen now but need to convert in 2 years, you'll pay full KK incorporation costs then. When does GK make sense? If you're 100% bootstrapping with no plans for outside investors, if you're running a small operation, 1 to 5 people, and you're going to stay that size, if you absolutely need to minimize costs and you understand the trade-offs. Or if you're a foreign company setting up a Japan subsidiary, GK is actually pretty common for this because the parent company provides all funding. But if you have any uncertainty about fundraising in the next 3 to 5 years, we usually recommend KK. Now, this is critical for foreign founders. If you plan to apply for a business manager visa, your corporate structure matters, not because immigration requires one or the other, but because of how the requirements have changed. As of 2025, business manager visa requirements are 30 million yen in capital, that's 30 million yen. This increased from 5 million. It's mandatory with no alternatives, no equivalent business assets, no workarounds. You need 30 million yen in capital, period. You need at least one full-time employee who is a Japanese national, permanent resident, long-term resident, or spouse of one of those categories. And that employee needs N2 level Japanese proficiency or higher. You need an independent commercial office, no home office that stopped being acceptable as of October 16th, 2024. No shared co-working spaces. You need dedicated commercial space. We're talking 100,000 yen to 300,000 yen per month in rent. And you need demonstrated business activity and revenue, full tax compliance, social insurance enrollment, real operations. Now, immigration accepts both KK and GK for business manager visa. Legally, both work, but in practice, immigration tends to scrutinize GK applications more carefully. When you show up with a KK, it signals serious business. When you show up with GK, they look a little closer. Not a deal breaker, but more scrutiny. And this is the key point. With 30 million yen capital requirement, the cost difference between KK and GK disappears completely. But the registration tax is calculated as 0.7% of capital, which at 30 million yen is 210,000 yen for both structures. So if you're on the business manager visa path, there's literally no cost advantage to choosing GK. And KK gives you smoother visa processing and more credibility with banks. Clear choice? My advice? If you're serious about building a business in Japan and you plan to be here long term, choose KK. The extra cost pays for itself in credibility, easier banking, smoother visa applications, and future optionality. So here's the simple framework. Choose KK if you plan to raise funding now or in the next 3 to 5 years. If you target enterprise clients or government contracts. If you want maximum credibility. If you're applying for business manager visa and want the smoothest path. Or if you have 500,000 yen or more in your incorporation budget. Choose GK if you are 100% bootstrapping with zero plans for outside investors. If you're running a small, stable operation. If you're a foreign company setting up a Japan subsidiary. Or if you need to minimize costs and you understand the trade-offs. For most foreign founders we work with, KK is the right choice. That's our recommendation. Alright, you've decided on KK or GK. Now, before you create any documents or pay any fees, you need to make 8 critical decisions. Getting these wrong means restarting the process, paying amendment fees of 30,000 yen to 60,000 yen per change, or facing problems later with banks and immigration. Let's go through all 8. The 8 decisions you must make are company name, business purpose, head office location, capital amount, fiscal year end, founders and shareholders, directors, and company seal. Each of these has implications for your taxes, your visa applications, your banking relationships, your future operations. Let me walk through each one. Decision 1, company name. Your company name requirements are pretty straightforward. Your name must include either Kabushiki Kaisha, or Godo Kaisha, depending on which structure you chose. You can put this before or after your company name. So you can be Kabushiki Kaisha SmartStart or SmartStart Kabushiki Kaisha. Both work. You can use English, katakana, kanji, hiragana. All of these are acceptable, but you cannot use certain restricted words without proper licenses. For example, bank, insurance, trust, university. These words require you to actually have the corresponding license. Your name also cannot be identical to another company at the same address. Different addresses? Fine. Same address? Not allowed. How do you check availability? Go to the Legal Affairs Bureau's corporate database. It's searchable online. Check if your name is taken. Also check the trademark registry if you're concerned about intellectual property. And verify the domain name is available for your website. My advice? Have 2 to 3 backup names ready. We've seen founders fall in love with one name, discover it's taken or restricted, and then lose weeks while they decide on alternatives. Just have backups ready from the beginning. Decision 2. Business purpose. This is the most technical requirement. Your business purposes must be specific enough to be clear, properly formatted in Japanese legal language, broad enough to cover future activities, and compliant with Legal Affairs Bureau standards. What goes wrong? Foreign founders write things like IT business, too vague, rejected, or all lawful business activities. Not specific enough, rejected, or they list purposes that require licenses they don't have. Rejected. What you should do? List 5 to 10 business purposes. Include activities you plan to do in the next 2 to 3 years, not just what you're doing today. Why? Because adding purposes later costs 30,000 yen to 60,000 yen in amendment fees. The Legal Affairs Bureau has sample wording for different industries. Use their exact wording. They've already approved it, so you know it'll work. Common mistake we see, founders don't include this clause, then 6 months later they want to add a new service line and they have to file an amendment. Decision 3. Head office location requirements. Must be a real physical address. No PO boxes. This is your registered address for legal documents. It will appear on your corporate registry, which is a public record. Your options? Your home address, a rented office, a virtual office, or a co-working space. Now, this is where it gets critical for business manager visa applicants. As of October 16th, 2024, Immigration Services Agency tightened the requirements. They no longer accept home offices for business manager visa. They don't accept shared co-working spaces like WeWork or Regus. They don't accept virtual offices for primary operations. What do you need? Independent commercial office space. Separate entrance not shared with residential units. Clear signage displaying your company name. Dedicated space, minimum 10 to 15 square meters recommended. Proper commercial lease agreement. And office photos showing actual workspace with furniture and equipment. Why does immigration check this? They want to ensure your business is real, not just visa shopping. They want to see you have actual operations in Japan, you're committed to running a legitimate business, and you can afford to maintain proper business premises. Let's look at the compound cost problem. Let's say you register your home address in 2024 to save money. You're saving 100,000 yen to 150,000 yen per month in office rent. Seems smart, right? Then you apply for business manager visa in 2026. Immigration says you need a proper commercial office. Decision 4. Capital amount. What's the legal minimum? 1 yen. Yes, you can legally incorporate with 1 yen, but don't actually do this. Let me break down the practical considerations. For standard operations with no visa considerations, the minimum credibility threshold is 1 million yen. A comfortable range is 3 million yen to 5 million yen. And there's a sweet spot for tax purposes. You want to stay under 10 million yen. For business manager visa applicants, as of 2025 onward, 30 million yen is mandatory, not negotiable, no alternatives. Now, why does the 10 million yen threshold matter? It's about consumption tax exemption. If your capital is less than 10 million yen, you're exempt from consumption tax for your first 2 fiscal years. That typically saves you 500,000 yen to 3 million yen over 2 years. If your capital is 10 million yen or more, you must pay consumption tax from day 1. No exemption period. This creates a dilemma for business manager visa applicants. You need 30 million yen capital for the visa, but this means paying consumption tax immediately. There's no way around it. Factor this into your business plan. If your first year revenue is 20 million yen, you'll pay 2 million yen in consumption tax. This is just the cost of the visa path. There are also problems if your capital is too high, like 10 million yen to 30 million yen, without proper tax planning. The big one is unexpected consumption tax bills. Many founders incorporate with 10 million yen plus thinking, this shows we're serious. They don't realize they lose the 2-year tax exemption. So year 1 revenue is 8 million yen, consumption tax is 800,000 yen. Year 2 revenue is 15 million yen, consumption tax is 1,500,000 yen. That's 2,300,000 yen in taxes they could have deferred. There's also higher registration tax. Registration tax is 0.7% of capital above minimum thresholds. So 30 million yen capital means 210,000 yen registration tax versus the 150,000 yen minimum. That's an extra 60,000 yen upfront. Decision 5. Fiscal year end. Good news, you get to choose any month. This is one area where you have complete freedom. Let me walk you through the common choices. March is used by about 20% of Japanese companies. It aligns with the government fiscal year, and most Japanese companies use March. The downside? Accountants are busiest during this period, so it's harder to get good service. December is used by about 15% of companies. It gives you calendar year alignment, which makes international reporting easier. The downside is the holiday period can complicate year-end close. September is growing in popularity. It avoids the busy season for accountants and works well for businesses with Q4 sales focus. Here are some strategic considerations to keep in mind. First, avoid your busy season. Year-end closing requires significant accounting work. Don't make it fall during your highest revenue period when you're scrambling with operations. Second, maximize your tax-free period for new companies. Your first fiscal year can be up to 12 months. Set your fiscal year end to be 11 to 12 months after incorporation. This maximizes your consumption tax exemption period if your capital is under 10 million yen. And for business manager visa applicants, consider setting your fiscal year end 3 to 4 months before your planned visa application. This gives you fresh, complete financial statements for immigration. Decisions 6, 7, 8. Founders, directors, and CEOs. Alright, let me cover the final 3 decisions. These are more straightforward but still important. Decision 6 is founders and shareholders. For KK, you can have multiple shareholders with different ownership percentages. For GK, they're called members. Here's the critical requirement. At least one founder must have valid residence status in Japan and a Japan address. You cannot incorporate from overseas without Japan presence. And a consideration for foreign founders. If you're on a visa that restricts work, like a student visa, dependent visa, or tourist visa, you technically need permission to be a company founder or director. Consult an immigration attorney before proceeding. Decision 7 is directors. For KK, you need minimum 1 director. The representative director is the one who makes official decisions. Here's the key point. The representative director must have a registered address in Japan. If you're not yet in Japan, you need someone with a Japan address to serve as temporary representative until you arrive. Decision 8 is your company seal or inken. Now, I know this might seem old school, but Japan still operates heavily on physical seals. You need 3 of them. First is your representative seal, which you use for legal documents, contracts, and banking. This gets registered with the Legal Affairs Bureau. Second is your bank seal, used exclusively for banking transactions. Keep it separate from your representative seal for security. And third is your general business seal for invoices, receipts, and routine documents. Order these early. You cannot proceed without these seals. Standard delivery is 1 to 2 weeks and cost is 20,000 yen to 30,000 yen for a set. We've seen founders have everything ready to file but end up waiting 2 weeks for seals to arrive. Before we wrap up part 1, let me quickly cover the most common mistakes we see with these pre-incorporation decisions. First, choosing a home address to save money, then facing business manager visa rejection 18 months later. The cost to fix this? You're looking at 100,000 yen to 300,000 yen per month in office rent, plus 30,000 yen to 60,000 yen in amendment fees, plus a 2 to 3 month delay, plus potentially 2 million yen to 3 million yen in total impact. Second, setting capital at 100,000 yen thinking I can always add more later. Then the bank rejects your corporate account application. You have to dissolve the company and start over, or struggle with very limited banking options. Third, listing only 2 to 3 vague business purposes. 6 months later, you want to add a new service line, and you must pay 30,000 yen to 60,000 yen in amendment fees and update all your registrations. And fourth, not ordering seals early enough. Everything's ready to file, but you're waiting 2 weeks for seals. Your total timeline gets stretched just because you didn't order seals at the beginning. These mistakes are all avoidable. Make your decisions carefully up front. Think about your 3 to 5 year plans and don't cut corners to save small amounts of money that end up costing you much more later. Alright, let's recap what we covered in part 1. First, choosing between KK and GK. KK is for credibility, fundraising potential, and smoother visa applications. It costs 545,000 yen at SmartStart Japan. GK is for simplicity and cost savings if you're definitely bootstrapping. It costs 455,000 yen. For business manager visa with 30 million yen capital, both cost the same as 605,000 yen. Our recommendation for most foreign founders, choose KK. Second, the 8 pre-incorporation decisions: company name, business purpose, head office location, capital amount, fiscal year end, founders, directors, and company seal. Each decision has implications for your taxes, your visa applications, your banking, and your future operations. And third, the common mistakes. Wrong address kills your business manager visa later. Wrong capital amount costs you tax exemptions or banking credibility. Vague business purposes lead to expensive amendments. Not ordering seals early delays everything. Get these foundation decisions right, and the rest of the incorporation process goes smoothly. Get them wrong, and you'll pay for it in amendment fees, delays, and lost opportunities. In part 2, we'll cover the actual 8-step incorporation process with realistic timelines, the complete cost breakdown with exact numbers, and the common mistakes that happen during the filing process. In part 3, we'll cover post-incorporation requirements that foreign founders often miss, things like corporate bank accounts, tax accountants, accounting systems, business manager visa preparation, and ongoing compliance. But for now, if you have questions about choosing your corporate structure or making these pre-incorporation decisions, talk to us at SmartStart Japan. We've facilitated over 50 company incorporations for foreign founders. We understand both Japanese legal requirements and the unique challenges foreigners face. Don't waste months and tens of thousands of yen on mistakes. Get it right the first time. Visit smartstartjapan.com and book your free consultation today. Thanks for watching part 1. See you in part 2.